All right, good morning, everyone. I am Misty. This is Dinner on a Dime, and I am starting to film videos for 2026. And today's video is one that a lot of people ask questions about. Maybe not directly on the channel, but in real life, IRL, in real life, right? And so I think this is a really good one to kick off 2026 with because we are living in a world that times feel shaky and uncertain. A lot of people don't feel like a lot of things are headed in the right direction. A lot of people continue to see rising costs at the grocery store. We continue to see shrinkflated products in an inflated price world. And we're just like, how do we conquer this? What should our budget be anymore? Like, I don't know where to go with any of it. And so I've recorded a separate video for you that's going to give you some frugal tips to kickstart 2026. But this video, we're going to focus on the budgeting aspect of it. Okay, so 10 tips to help us set a realistic grocery budget for 2026. Okay, and so yeah, money. No one wants to talk money, right? No one wants to talk money, but that's what we're going to talk today. We're going to talk money and how we realistically know where we're at and what we need to spend moving forward. So make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure to ring the notification bell so you get notified when new content comes out. Sorry, I guess I'm going to cough my way through this one. All right, so let's start off. I'm going to give you some ground rules here. I am a family of four. It's myself, my husband. We have a preteen son who basically eats like a teenager. He's 11. He does breakfast, lunch, dinner from home. My husband does lunch, dinner from home. He's not a breakfast guy during the week. I do lunch, dinner from home. I'm not a breakfast person either. I have coffee. That's all I have in the morning. Then there is my daughter who is 17. She works during the day because she's already graduated from high school and she is patiently waiting to go to the military in April. So as she intensifies her training schedule to get ready to go to the Navy, I imagine her food intake will uptick a little bit as well. So that's kind of the players in my house. Now, let's talk about what is a recommended food budget for my family of four. Okay, and there's no secrets to this information. All you need to do is look up the USDA recommendations for your family size. It is going to split it into 4 levels. Okay, so for my family of 4, if I went with what they deem a liberal grocery budget, which is the high-end liberal grocery budget, would be $1,800 to $2,300 for a family of 4. Okay, this is like per month costs, right? $2,300 a month. Moderate cost $1,300 to $1,700. Low cost $1,050 to $1,300. Thrifty, the low end grocery budget for a family of 4, $970 to $1,000, with a recommendation that you do not fall below $1,000 for a family of 4. Okay, $1,000 in a routine month breaks down to $250 per week for a family of 4. The USDA says that this is the lowest cost plausible for you to meet the health requirements for your family of 4. Okay, that is the USDA recommendations. Okay, I would say that is not correct. Now, I would say if you are someone who doesn't want to shop sales, you do not want to do coupons, you do not want to do rebate apps, you don't want to put in any effort, time, thought, whatever into how you grocery shop, then yeah, probably $1,000 a month would be a thrifty budget and $2,300 would be a liberal budget. But I can tell you that in 2025, my grocery budget for my family of 4 was $100 per week. Okay, and if the month happened to have 5 weeks instead of 4, I try to do a no spend on that 5th week. I am very successful at that mode of shopping. In fact, the year before that, I had just come off of, for about 3 years in a row, doing $50 a week for my family of 4. The only reason I increased it to $100 is because I have 2 kids who are very active, very into different things. One training for military life, who is also in competitive karate, also holding down a part-time job. My other one, like I said, preteen boy, He is also in competitive karate. He is also in drums, getting ready for marching. So they're very active, and their food requirements are a little higher than maybe someone who is not as active as they are. So anyways, we bumped it this year to $100 per week, and that has still allowed me plenty of room for like stock up hauls, shopping the clearance deals, all of that kind of stuff. Where do I see myself going for 2026? I'm not sure yet, because we haven't sat down and had this conversation yet. But I'm going to give you kind of the guidelines by which we work through when we are setting what we want our budget to look like for the next year. Okay. So, number one, we track our current spending for at least 1 to 2 previous months. Okay. The most recent 2 previous months. Okay. How did we do on our spending on groceries and takeout? Okay. The reason for this is because we need to know what we're currently spending. It's absolutely, you cannot set a budget if you don't know where you currently are. You need to know, okay, what are some costs that we could cut or reduce? And the easiest way to do this is look through your past 2 months of spending and highlight anything that you think you could reduce or that you could cut out. Okay? And the only way you're going to be able to do this is by tracking, looking back at your purchases, which it's really easy to look back now, because even if you don't have your receipts, guess what? Almost every single grocery store app has a copy of it in your history, your account purchases. And so you can go back and see what you spent. You can also go back on your credit card statement, your bank statement, whatever, and you can simply highlight every single time that you purchase groceries or takeout in the last 2 months. It's very easy to figure out where you've been. So number one, we need to know where we've been, because we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we've been. Okay. Number two, you have to include all grocery related costs. So this is not as simple as just highlighting every time you went to Kroger, if that's your only grocery store. You also need to highlight every time you purchase snacks. Okay. Every time we went to Brahms for ice cream, every time we went to Crumble for cookies, we need to include those purchases. We also need to include every time we went to takeout, McDonald's, Whataburger, Chicken Express, and we need to include every time we went and sat down for a meal. Saltgrass, Applebee's, Chili's, whatever the case may be. Because we need to get a big picture, which means we need to know the total food spend in our household. It's doing us no good to do all this prep work and budgeting and everything if we're only setting a grocery budget and we're buying food but we're not using it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. We need to know, what does it look like total food spend in the home, not just what we're spending at the store, because that number we need to work on reducing as well. We are reducing our takeouts because we need to be using the food that we bought at home. Okay. So number three, you are going to need to consider your family size and your family location. Like I said, I am a family of 4. I am in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. Okay. Texas is not an exceptionally high expensive state for food, but it's not the lowest either. Okay. So you're going to need to know, how does your location affect this? If I'm in New York or I'm in Hawaii, I'm going to have much higher food costs for my family than I am if I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth region of Texas. I'm going to need to know how many adults and how many kids I am feeding in the house, because guess what? Teenagers cost more to feed than toddlers do. Promise you, they do. And they're so much fun because they're always hungry. That's where I'm at right now. My kids are always hungry. Prices are going to vary widely, even by region. So just saying I live in the state of Texas is not enough, because I guarantee you the DFW region has very different prices than if you go down to Austin and San Antonio. Okay. All of this information needs to be used in order to set your budget baseline for your family. So what I would say is, do go to the USDA information, right? Go find for your region, for your family of 4, here are kind of the guidelines of what it says, because it'll at least give you a base target to work with. As far as, now I would say that thrifty number, if I was following that 970 to 1,000 and I was including all of the snacks, takeout, and sit down meals, that is the number I'm targeting, right? Not just food purchases, all food spend. Okay. So you can kind of start to develop where your baseline is. Sorry, the wind is blowing my hair into my mouth. All right, number 4, don't let one expensive week derail your entire budget. Now, what do I mean by this? You are going to have higher cost weeks in your life, and you have to learn to plan for them and know that you're going to spend more of your budget in that week and then less of your budget in the remaining weeks of the month because you have a higher cost event going on. This could be things like a birthday, a holiday celebration, a promotion at work, any type of event that you want to celebrate, a baby shower, a funeral. Not that you're celebrating a funeral, right? But if you're having a bunch of people over after a funeral for food, those are things that cost a lot of money to host people at your house. And so you'll want to plan for that by lowering your expenses elsewhere so that your budget can stay on track. So if I know that I'm going to have a baby shower at my house this week, and I know I'm going to want to spend an extra $100 on food for that, I'm going to need to reduce my other 3 weeks by $33 a week in order to make up what I'm spending extra here. Okay, so don't let one expensive week derail your entire budget. Another example of this is like, okay, I have actually recently found ground beef on sale for 99 cents a pound. That's like unheard of anymore. It was a markdown after a holiday, and once it was gone, it was gone. So I would want to use a bulk of my grocery budget for that week to stock up on as much ground beef as I could stick into my freezer. So that's going to increase my cost on this 1 week, but I'm getting all this amazing ground beef for 99 cents a pound. And then I will just reduce my grocery budget for the remainder of the month in order to cover that one more expensive purchase. All right, number 5, know your price points and your budget busters, okay? So know what staples you want to keep in your house and learn what your budget pricing on those items are. So just like I'm saying with ground beef, we know we're going to use ground beef. We know 99 cents is a good price. That's when we're going to stock up. Unfortunately, right now with ground beef, I mean, even like $2.99 is a great stock up price. So chicken, when chicken goes on sale, boneless, skinless chicken breast for $1.77 a pound, that's about the cheapest I can find boneless, skinless chicken breast. I would go stock up on it at its lowest price. And usually they'll let you buy 10 pounds, so I would buy 10 pounds of it. Canned goods, when they go to 50 cents around the holidays, if they go to 50 cents this year, that's when I would stock up on my canned goods for the year. And then also know what you overspend on, and then work to either cap that cost or eliminate that cost. So what do I mean by that? Soda. In my house, we do buy soda. I've went into that in several videos, but I do work to cap that cost by only buying it when it's buy 2, get 3 free. Okay, I make sure that I'm getting it at its lowest cost point, or I don't buy it at all. So those items that you know can cause you to bust your budget, like soda, only buy them and stock up on them when they're an amazing deal. Okay, number 6, don't buy items that you don't use. Okay, and a lot of people are bad about this, especially if it's a bulk buy or a sales buy, and they have the mentality of, I think I'll use it. Okay, don't use the I think I'll use it method to shopping and cooking. Okay, you know what you use in your house. You only buy the ingredients that you typically use. So what we call aspirational groceries, or the I think I'll use it down the road groceries, are just a silent waste of money. They sit on your shelf, and they sit there and they sit there and they sit there, and unless you make yourself use them, guess what? They sit there and they sit there and they sit there, and they do increase your food waste total over time. So if you've fallen prey to that and you have aspirational groceries, make sure you either use them up or make sure that you donate them, like to a little food pantry or something like that where people can use them. Okay, number 7, work to replace store-bought items with homemade alternatives. So what I'm talking about here is things like taco seasoning. I can buy the ingredients in bulk, in the bulk bin, and then I can make my own taco seasoning, and I get a whole big mason jar of it for the cost of a couple of packets. Okay, broth. Learn to make your own broth. When you cook something, drain off the broth, strain it, and save that for cooking future. You can make your own gravy packets. You can learn to make almost anything at home. And remember, even small swaps like the taco seasoning will equal big savings over time. Some other things that you could learn to make at home, things like granola bars, granola itself, bread, dressing, salsa, yogurt. There are endless possibilities for things that you can learn to make at home to reduce the cost of those items. All right, number 8, limit your trips to the store and how you pay. Okay, so I would say, like, especially if you're brand new to this and you find it really hard to stick to budgets in the past, use that cash envelope system, because once it's gone, it's gone. Just make sure you've got it somewhere secure where it doesn't go missing, lost, or stolen. Okay, because again, once it's gone, right? Shop only once per week. In the beginning, like, I used to like to shop once per month. But that's hard to do unless you've got a really good solid grasp on your meal plan and all of the things you're going to need for the month. So if you're brand new to this, I would say shop once per week. And then if you have trouble with like impulse shopping in the store or sticking to the plan once you hit the store, I would use grocery pickup or delivery. Now, delivery, I would say only to use if you have a service, like you've paid for an entire year of a service. Don't pay per delivery for groceries, because that gets expensive. But grocery pickup, like you can do a Walmart pickup right now if you have a minimum purchase. I'll lose my notebook. I can do the same with Kroger, Tom Thumb, or Berkshire's in my area. So if you have a problem with Walmart, that's okay. Go to a different store. But definitely use those services if you need them. My stepdad, or my dad, he's like my dad, he always chuckles because when they first came out with like grocery pickup and grocery delivery, he was like, oh my gosh, people are getting so lazy. They won't go into the store these days to save their lives. And then he started to think about it. He's like, well, yeah, but when your kids are sick, it's nice because you can just pull up and get your groceries. And then he was like, oh, or like, an elderly person that has problems shopping around the store, they can just pull up and get their groceries. And so he really started to see the benefit in it, and I thought that was really kind of cool. But he hasn't seen it from my perspective with the money part yet. But they like to go in the store and they overspend, and that's okay. Number 9, shop store brand ingredients. So a lot of these are going to taste identical when you're utilizing them in a meal, and it cuts at least 25% off of the cost of your groceries. So these are things like tomatoes, like canned tomatoes, flour, canned beans, pasta, cheese, spices, broth, anything that is just going to be an ingredient in a meal. Just buy the store brand. Okay, there's no need to buy the expensive brand on items that are not going to be the star of the show. They are just going to be background players, right? And they're all going to come together and be delicious. And then number 10 is, at least once per quarter, sit down and review how this budget is working out for you. Okay, so adjust your budget based on your needs. And your needs can change, and that's why you should be doing this once a quarter. If you're only doing it once a year, it's kind of hard, because maybe your needs changed after the first quarter, but you didn't adjust anything, and so you made this much more difficult on yourself for the rest of the year than it needed to be. So what kind of changes do I mean? Okay, kids enter sports, right? Your kid decides they're going to start playing baseball or soccer or football, or they're going into marching band, or they're joining cheerleading, and now their activity levels are way up, so their food needs change. Perhaps you have a kid that's just growing, right? Your kid has hit a growth spurt, and so they need more nutritional value. Perhaps you've had a health change in your house, okay? So maybe it's an issue like when I had my stomach surgery back in 2021. That came out of nowhere, right? And so a lot of things changed for me very quickly. Perhaps you've been diagnosed with diabetes or high cholesterol or blood pressure, and you need to start changing the way you eat, which may change your cost. Perhaps you've had a job change. That's something that's happened to me in 2025, is found myself laid off from my job after 8.5 years, had to find a new job. New job life is not going to be the same as old job life was. So maybe you're going to get home later in the evenings and you need more foods that are quickly available to make. Maybe you need to spend more on bulk prepping and getting meals into the freezer that can just be pulled out and thrown into the oven. So just learn to review your plan, see what's working, see what's not working, and adjust your plans accordingly. So it's not saying that you're failing. If you're struggling with something, this is a living, breathing thing. It's able to be changed. So you want to work through that accordingly and make those changes as needed, instead of silently suffering with something way longer than you need to, just because, well, that's the budget I set for 2026. Okay, but that budget quit working for you in April. So we should have looked at it, we should have adjusted, and we should have changed course, right? So make sure you're doing that routine check-in with yourself. All right, guys, that's all for this video. I hope you found it useful. It really is just about, it's not just about setting a goal, it's about working through what it takes to actually accomplish that goal. And that's hard. It is hard. It's work. It's hard work to accomplish a goal, but this is one, financial goals, if you'll really stick to it, you'll review it, you'll change it as you need, you're going to be happy with your end result at the end of the year. And that's what it's all about. So I'm going to continue to bring you content here on how I continue to shop for my family on a budget. And I'm excited for 2026 and what it holds. So if you want to let me know your family size and your grocery budget in the comments, you don't have to offer any explanation as to why your budget is what it is. I'm just curious to see what people are spending, kind of per person in their household in 2026. So I will see you guys in another video. Bye.